slot after lunch, so everybody's sleeping, right? So, but now I'm really excited to be here in front of you guys to talk about our solutions. My team is responsible for delivering experience to customers. And how do we do that? We deliver experience through unique applications that solve real world problems. So as we're going through into this journey, right? By 2020, customer experience is going to overtake the decision-making process of how folks purchase technology, maybe use hotels, use schools, whatever the case may be, based on a customer experience, right? So if you have a bad experience with us, or with the hotel you're in, from a technology, from a connectivity perspective, then you're unlikely to do business with them again. So this is becoming a key decision point. So our vision is to really eliminate those barriers and make it easier for you to do business with us, and at the same time deliver solutions that can easily expand to whatever business needs you may have, so that you could potentially you could offer customers a consistent user experience. That's really key. The problem today is that we're kind of being held back by the same technology that we need to move forward is kind of holding us back. Why? These monolithic solutions were specifically designed for a specific use case, for a specific problem, and they don't really play nice together. So as you move forward, you need a solution that's able to adapt as your business needs adapt, as your business needs change. This is really, really important. So how do we achieve that? Well, we're in New York, so I'll take a little bit of a take on John Lennon and the Beatles, but let's just imagine for a second what it would take to address that customer experience, how to deliver to your customers that consistent experience all the time. I won't ask you to close your eyes, because then you'll fall asleep as you're imagining this, right? So let's keep the eyes open. So what if there was a network that could deliver that experience all the time, regardless of the environment? It doesn't matter, whether you're, here sitting down, or you're in the lobby of the hotel, or you're in your room, that you get a consistent experience, a consistent access to services, and it's like air, right? We breathe, we don't think about it, right? We expect that connectivity is there. If connectivity is there, we can get to our services all the time. This is really, really, really important, because as I mentioned before, you look at technology today, and it starts driving down a specific path. If you make a decision on a centralized data plane technology, you cannot move to a distributor unless you rip out and replace your infrastructure, right? Which, as somebody asked if we have any unlimited budgets, one person did, but I think that's not realistic, right? So the ability to change and absorb different changes on the business side, different consumption model, that's important. Take, for example, Starbucks. I don't know how many of you guys drink coffee, especially now, right? So Starbucks, whether Starbucks has done a great job providing the same consistent user experience no matter where you go. Whether you're drinking, coffee in Seattle or in Salem or Philadelphia or Mexico City, that user experience is the same. If you order a caramel macchiato, it's the same, right? That's different than instant coffee, right? Instant doesn't give you that consistent user experience, doesn't give you that oomph that you're looking for. So remember that, because instant is bad, right? No pun intended. So anyways, so what drives those pillars? That North Star that we're building to, we talked about, we talked many times today about the trilogy, right? I'm an old guy, and I used to be smart. I know, Norm, you don't believe that, but I used to be smart a long time ago. But if you think about tables, right? Traditional tables, you need 3 legs to that table to make that table hold up. So now there's funky new tables that you just need 1 leg. But let's stick with the old guys, right? So you got 3 legs to the table, and the 3 pillars that form our vision are pervasive intelligence, business adaptive, and intrinsically secure. These are all pillars that are really, really important for a future solution. We're imagining all the problems that we need to do. Intelligence is important because I'm sitting here and I'm talking to you guys and gals, but I'm thinking about my 10-month-old that had a fever this morning because he's had teeth come. So I'm not 100% here, right? When you talk about using machines, machine learning, artificial intelligence, the machines are just thinking, they're looking all the time, the same thing over and over and over and over again. They're focused on that. So making your life easier, that's important. We're going to talk about that. And the center pillar is business adaptive, the ability to change as your network changes, as your need change. We have customers that have a large campus, for example, hospital, but then they buy a smaller hospital later on. I spoke to a gentleman just a few minutes ago. They have a big hospital not using our technology, but that's okay. He will be in the future. But a big hospital buying new hospitals coming on board. So how do you integrate those? So the ability to have a solution that can adapt to those changes is really, really important. And security is always paramount. Again, I was younger and smarter. I was never taller. So, security. We always talk about in the security world about being crunchy in the outside and chewy in the inside, because we always thought about building perimeter firewalls, maybe adding antivirus, but there was also a chewy part inside, right? So what we're able to do, I was really excited to join Extreme a long time ago because now we're able to build security from the inside out. Right, the infrastructure doesn't replace, we still love Palo Alto, you still need those technologies, but it's security in depth, building multiple layers of security. If one fails, you got something else to back you up. So those are, really three of the critical pillars. So now we start, again, peeling away the onion, we talk about business adaptive. We've heard, Bob talk about the cloud, the hybrid cloud. Those of you who are, really focused on wireless know that there's been a movement in the last couple of years to, management in the cloud. A lot of the new applications, location analytics, AI, anything that requires a lot of CPU resources, the cloud becomes a natural place where, where there's unlimited resources in the cloud. So that's a good place for have all these advanced applications. So, it's not about making a decision today. I need a centralized campus deployment with my own data center. I'm never going to look at something else. You're always going to have a mix of applications. You need an infrastructure that's able to adapt to that, right? So if you look at the left-hand side here, you see traditional solutions, right? The old days, you have boxes. You needed BYOD, you put a box in. You needed management, you put another box in. You needed security, you put another box in. Box and box and box and box and box, right? That makes your life a lot more difficult. You got disparate management systems, disparate operating systems, disparate applications. There's no continuity on that. What if you imagine for a second, what if that all could be brought together, right? All the applications play nice together, right? Your experience is whatever you want it to be, right? So I have an iPhone, Norm has an iPhone, Mike, you guys have iPhones out there, and it might be the same iPhone, but my experience with my iPhone is completely different than Norm's. Why? Because of applications, right? The applications is what drives and addresses your specific business needs. Today, maybe security is really, really high up. Next year, now that you address security, location analytics is real, or guest analytics is real important, or whatever the next big thing is really important, right? So you need the ability for your network to be able to adapt to that. Public, private cloud, it doesn't matter. It should all be together, right? Imagine that you don't have to wake up in the morning and go, I got to make a decision for the next 10 years that I'm going to put something on-prem or I'm going to put it on the cloud. Why? You got a bunch of other decisions you have to make during your day. You don't need to make that type of decision, right up front. You can have, hopefully, if you imagine a network that's able to do, both of those. So in order to deliver that, right, you want to provide a unified experience. So whether you're managing your systems from the cloud or you're managing from, on-prem, you want to be able to provide it consistent. As I mentioned, there's different type of deployment scenarios. You may have, talk about the hospital with a large campus, small campus. How about, a university? A university that may have a large campus and they have a bunch of satellites, right? A different mix of designs for that case. Take a retail, right? A big retailer has 5,000 stores out there, but guess what? They also have distribution centers. They also got headquarters, which tend to be more of a campus centralized type of design. So you could see that nature in itself has, different types of needs, and you need the ability to be able to, move across between the two, as a service or as an appliance. You choose. Right? It's your life, it's your budget, it's your decision. You make the decision. You want an application that's able to provide that consistent experience across both. And many of the competitors are not able to do that, right? They're really, stars in one configuration, stars in another configuration, but when you try to, make it into real life, which you just got a mix of things, right? That's where they start falling off. So, all that experience, you want to be able to provide with a consistent workflow. So if I drive, my car today, it's the same level, it's the same type of thing that I would do when I sit in my wife's car. It's just a different car, but I know that, that I got to turn it on, I know what to do. So all those things are the same. So on the network side, that's what we aim to do from an application perspective, is be able to give you that same user experience. Doesn't matter whether it's cloud, on-prem, it makes of the two. It's getting on the car, opening the door, and doing the same thing over and over. Remember about the car, we're going to talk about Tesla in a few minutes. So, so imagine if the solution scaled to 10,000s of users, 10,000s of devices. There was some numbers thrown around, IoT, 20 billion devices in a network by 2020. 20 billion devices, right? And I think it was Bob and some of the customers that made the comment that, in the old days, you had facilities and you had IT, and they never talked. Oh, I don't care, that's a lock to the door, or that's a light bulb that I need to replace. That's not the case anymore, right? Shadow IT is facilities, right? Intelligent light bulbs, you go to a Home Depot, to a Lowe's, you go aisle after aisle after aisle of smart devices. Thermostats, light bulbs, doors, all kinds of things that are coming in, into your network. And the challenge with that is not that these devices are coming into the network, is that these are using consumer-grade stacks. So it's opened up a whole new threat vector into your enterprise network. So you did all this work to secure your network, right, and sleep good at night, but now a light bulb, a thermostat, a fishing bowl in a casino, right? That's how your network gets compromised. Really something that's really difficult. So Wi-Fi 6, talking about technology. So Wi-Fi 6. When I draw this diagram, I draw it a little bit different. So take I-95. So today, technology, if you take the middle section there, right? Let's say you had a highway with 3 lanes. How does Wi-Fi work today? Forget Wave 2 for a second. So, how does it work? If you have 3-lane highway, you need a 3-lane wide truck to go through it. How many 3-lane wide trucks are there, right? They're not very useful. Even if you can get it through the highway, you can't get it out of the highway. So you're wasting all these lanes in the highway. Wi-Fi 6 not only lets you use all those 3 lanes, you can actually use 5. You can actually get 2 motorcycles through the same lane, right? Because the technology, it doesn't give you a bigger pipe, but it allows you to use that pipe much more efficiently, right? It's something that we have promised as an industry, 11AC Wave 2 was supposed to do. The problem with 11AC Wave 2 is that it requires very complex arrays, antenna arrays. You can't put a complex antenna array on this device. You can put it on an AP, and many APs out there support Wave 2, so you can have up to 3 conversations at one time, but you can't put it into these devices. And if these devices don't support the technology, then that technology is just not going to stick. So Wi-Fi 6 addresses that, also known as 11ax. Addresses that problem because it's using the same modulation techniques that we use in iPhones and Androids and all the cellular devices. That means we already solved, or smarter people already solved the problem of size. They already solved the problem of battery life. Same technology. That's why Wi-Fi 6 is going to be really, really, really important. Now, along with that comes switching. So, we have examples of a stadium, I know everybody laughs at us bringing up the Patriots, but, the Patriots have gone through 2 generations of installations of stadiums. The second generation installation was dealing with a lot more density on the stadium, right? 65, 68,000 people. The first gen, we were looking at maybe 20,000 connections in a concurrent connections in a game. With the second generation that added tremendous more density capacity, we've gone through 40,000 connected devices. So in the first game, Wi-Fi worked great, except the bottleneck was the internet. Now you had too much data coming in from the air and not enough data going into the internet. So I'm a wireless guy, so I love the wireless, but everything over the air eventually needs to come back down to the ground. So multi-rate switching is going to become more and more important. Now, I know some of you say, hey, but who cares, right? I'm not going to fill up a 5 gig pipe, but it's not about filling that pipe. If you think about Ethernet, unlike Wi-Fi, is a collision detection medium. So I send, something happens because I collide, I back off, I send again. If I do that very fast, I can recover much quicker. So my overall efficiency on my network goes up. Right? So it's not about filling that pipe with 2.5 gig or 5 gig or 10 gig, but it's about sending that as quickly as possible so you can get off that transmitter and somebody else can send. So it's all about efficiency. So they go hand in hand. As Mike mentioned before, we got 2 edges of the network. If you start providing more and more and more connectivity on one edge, the other edge needs to take it. So keep that in mind as you're making investments and solutions. Now, hey, but isn't 5G going to replace Wi-Fi, right? Everybody's talking about 5G. Well, if you look back, history, again, I don't want to say my age, but, when I started back in the day, programming in C. And back in those days, it was COBOL with mainframe, right? Then it went to client server. Then it went to virtual. So after a while, technology just keeps repeating itself. What 3G and 4G did was actually accelerate more Wi-Fi deployments. Why? Because the more connected you are, right, the higher the expectation. And 3G, 4G, 5G is not going to be able to provide that consistency across the whole environment. So they're complementing technologies. It's not that 5G will replace Wi-Fi, or that Wi-Fi 6 will replace 5G, or 11AD, or whatever your flavor is, your favorite flavor. It's all about providing that consistency, that user experience. Give you another example. I was in Boston, UMass Boston, talking to the CIO a couple years ago. He said, hey, my daughter was in town, she loved, she was connected, she was doing her thing, Facebook, whatever the case may be. She went out to the yard to have a smoke. And she came back and said, Dad, the Wi-Fi network sucks here. He's like, why, honey? What happened? It's like, well, inside the building is great, but I just go out in the courtyard and I don't get any connectivity. Why is that? It's like, well, we don't have Wi-Fi out there. But her expectation was, hey, if it's here, it's everywhere. So I expect that consistency across, the whole. So that's why those complementary solutions, not about one. So it's just like security. It's not. You're not going to have one thing that's going to single defend you on everything, right? You need multiple layers. Same thing with 5G. Wi-Fi is still an unlicensed medium. So what does that mean? That means you get a lot of more competition for that but the cost comes down, right? So your cost comes down. 5G starts falling under licensed spectrum. Some of you are very big, the Jets, the Giants, right? They can make big deals with those big carriers, but not all the enterprises or schools are going to be able to do that. So keep that in mind that Wi-Fi will still be here. 5G will still be here moving forward. And there's more spectrum coming. I know we got to depend on the federal government, which is tough nowadays. But having said that, there's more spectrum coming, right? So the FCC in the US is working to increase spectrum capacity. Why? Because of those 20 billion devices that are coming online. The limitation, I know air is free, but it's controlled by the feds. It's controlled by the FCC, and it's limited. So the ability of adding more spectrum is going to provide a better user experience. Why? Because you want to be able to connect to those services as needed. So that's really, really important. So now let's talk about intelligence. the ability for the network to learn, that's really, really important, because you got a million things to do. You can't sit there all the time thinking about, hey, we provide you a lot of data. Networks provide you a lot of data. But then you have to go in there and try to find the needle in the haystack. What if the network was always looking at that data, right? What if when you came in every Monday at 8 o'clock, the network knows what your expected connectivity is, and you just happen to come up next Monday and that's not what you're getting? Something's wrong, right? Now, if you're having the problem, and he's having the problem, and he's having the problem, then something is wrong in the network. If you're only having the problem, but his consistency is the same, then maybe you patch your device over the weekend, or whatever the case may be, which is why your user experience is different. So we try to react to that. The network will try to react to that. Really, really, really important. Providing insights. Customer experience, Bob talked about earlier on today, in the past, we just spend money on the network, right? It's just a big sunk cost, right? People want more connectivity, but what if you could extract value for the network, right? Certainly in our venues, our customers are able to extract value from the network. Loyalty, right? As more users come to watch a game, maybe you provide discounts to there. You could get, you can get more monetization out of the network. Provide additional services. Norm talked about Extreme Go. The other day, yesterday, a couple days ago, my wife did all our shopping online. Right? And not online necessarily with AWS or Amazon, but online with Target, CVS, BJ's. Right? She put her order. We just went up to the curbside, picked up the stuff, moved on. We saved, she saved 3 or 4 hours, from that. So monetizing when you got that connectivity, that consistent user experience, now you can start thinking about more and more applications. Guest users, guest analytics. I'll give you another example, a funny one. At Gillette, the first year, I don't know if you remember this, Norm, the first year that Gillette opened up, right, there was, as a politically correct world we live in, there was the same number of women's bathrooms as there was of men's bathrooms in Gillette, right? The first preseason game, the line went out across the way, because there was just the demographics. There was just a lot more, men in that stadium as there was women. So, based on that information, they then changed for the next game, right? Now, for a whole season, we had to go to a pink bathroom with stalls, which is pretty private, but that happened because of the demographic issues. So knowing your customers, knowing your demographics is really important, to make the right level of decisions. Location is becoming more and more important. Now that you're able to connect all the time, that you have connectivity all the time, what if the network learns from you? I go to Lowe's, every other week, and I go to the garden department. So the next time I'm there with my loyalty app, because I'm going to scan in, I'm going to get a coupon that says, hey, thanks for coming in the last 3 times. Hey, come again, and here's a 20% coupon. So, bringing it, and this also is important. It's coming out from example for venues, right? How do you get customers to go out to the stadiums? You want to be able to provide a unique customer experience, a unique fan experience, providing things that you normally wouldn't get at home, right? Visibility into the locker room, visibility into sounds of the game, different things that you say, hey, I want to get up and go. So these are ways that you can, monetize and start extracting information. So an application that we developed for that is Extreme Location. We're not very good about names. Right? So we let technical guys and gals name this, right? So Extreme Location. So this application gives you, presence and zone analytics. Now, are you in the store? How long were you in the store? Right? Or are you moving through the store? We can actually provide you what we call journeys. All right? We're on a journey right now. But we talk about journeys. It's like you came in, you went to this aisle, you went to that aisle, you got milk, you got eggs, you got this. So because of that, hey, you got eggs, milk, I'm going to take you to the bakery aisle, give you a coupon for baking something, for example. So now you're putting all that intelligence into a unique experience for that customer. The integration of technology, right? So we talked about 5G versus Wi-Fi. There's no 5G versus Wi-Fi. They're complementary. Same thing with Wi-Fi at BLE or Bluetooth technology, right? They're complementary technologies. Leveraging Bluetooth, you get more of a more location fidelity, right? So you can make more intelligent decisions. Integration with loyalty apps, right? That's really, really important. If I go with my favorite, grocery store chain, I got a loyalty app, right? I scan in, I get discounts based on that. Well, what if they knew I come in, these days, this is what I buy, I want to get 2-for-1 milk. These are all ways that the presence is used, right, to monetize that experience. Make that experience better for the customer. And remember, if your experience is better, then they're likely to come back more and use you more. So that's really important. Guest analytics. I gave you an example about knowing your demographics. Understanding your demographics, this is really important, right? If, for example, you take professional stadiums as an example. So let's say that you had to build an application and you only had one resources and you had to choose between an iPhone or an Android to build that application. So if you just use marketing data, you say, hey, Android has 60%, whatever it is, of the market globally, so I'll tell my team to design my application in Android first. Well, if you go to a football stadium, professional football stadium, 90%, what we've seen, 85% of those, the audience is using iPhones. So you would have made the wrong decision. Now, if you're at college, we see that the opposite. If you go to a college game, we see 60 to 70% of the connections are Android. So knowing the demographics are really, really important because it can help you make decisions. So we provide applications for that, right? So location may not be important to them, but it might be important to you. Guest analytics may be important to you, but not important to you. So same infrastructure, same network, right? It adapts to whatever you need. Imagine if something could do that, right? And we talked about AI. We talked about machine learning. I know we have some experts in here, that are really RF experts. But I can't bottle Pete and send them to every customer that has an RF problem. Pete is just too unique. But what if I program? Maybe if I could look into Pete's head and all his experience in the last 60 years. I'm just kidding, Pete. I'm just kidding. Take all that experience and program it in. And then I learn from that. The network learns from that, right? That's really, really important because it's going to make life a lot easier. You can't have you just don't have our expertise all the time. And the difficult thing with wireless network is that it changes. It changes. It may be great now, but 30 minutes from now, somebody turns on the microwave or the media guys turn on something that just brings down the rest of the network down. So the ability to continuously check, right, continuously adapt to all those changes, that's really, 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 really important. So if you look at Wi-Fi today, over 64% of the problems are reported are because of, Wi-Fi issues. Now, I take a little bit, I don't know, I take that with a grain of salt. I remember many cases where people complain about Wi-Fi because that's their user experience. That's the first user experience is connecting to Wi-Fi. But as the example of the young lady at UMass, her reaction was, Wi-Fi is terrible here. There was no Wi-Fi there. So in many cases, right, IT departments don't have the tools to figure out, is it really a Wi-Fi issue? Is it a DNS? Is it a wired issue? Is it an application issue? So, Dan Dulac, Darren's brother, uses the acronym of mean time to innocence, right? We as prop heads, we all think about mean time between failure. He talks about mean time to innocence. How quickly can I get down to the real problem? I know that the customer's saying it's a Wi-Fi problem, but it's something else in the network. So that mean time to innocence, that's important. The ability to look at that is really important. So that's where extreme AI comes in. Again, another application. And this application learns. It helps you learn. It's kind of like the Tesla, right? So we're not in like the, we're going to let machines take over the world. But on a Tesla, the Tesla helps you do things better. You still need your hands on the wheel, right? You still need to drive that Tesla or make the ultimate decision. But the network's going to help to make you better decisions. And then after that, it's really cool because as the network makes the decision, it says, you know what? I saw Pete come in. Pete comes in every day at 10. He sleeps in. So Pete comes in at 10, and this is what his experience has been the last couple months. Now I see that he's connected at a different rate. So let me make, in looking at all my decision tree, I'm going to make this decision. I'm going to increase the power on the AP by 1 dB, let's just say. Right? And now the network goes, okay, what's Pete's experience now? Oh, Pete's experience is much better, right? So next time that I make that decision, when I see a similar problem that Pete has or Norm has or somebody else, that becomes higher in my list to make that the decision. What if I made that change, but Pete's response, his experience went down? Okay, now the machine learning says, okay, I'm going to put that lower in my decision tree. So next time that I see that problem, I'm going to look for something else to try to fix it before I default to that. So the more you use it, the more it learns, the better it becomes, right? It's like, it's like playing games, training, right? The more you train, the more you do things, the better you become at it. And the network is the same. Right? Now you could drill down into the network. Now you could look under the hood, and now you could start becoming, Pete. You could start becoming an RF expert because you could start looking down and say, oh, this is what it saw, this is what the network did, right? And this is the effect of it. So these applications are all going to make your life easier. Imagine that if it was something that could provide that. Okay? So last but not least is security. And again, close to my heart. Worked a lot of years in security, mostly in the perimeter side, the VPN side, the firewall side, at Symantec and so forth. So it's really exciting to be at a company where security is taken seriously and is taken out from the ground up. So it's not a bolt-on solution, right? A lot of solutions out there is, when you're having a really bad day, you got to go start scrambling to bolt in a security solution on top. What if your network had security built in from the ground up? Now, you could talk about security different ways. So when I talk to the networking folks, right, I talk about leaving your network open, right, and creating rules that are to deny bad things, right? You can create 10 rules. Deny somebody from pretending to be my default gateway. Deny somebody from pretending to be my DHCP server. Deny somebody from sending emails, right? 10 rules could keep the network up, right? If you're talking to a security guy, it's the other way around. It's all about deny everything and only allow the things that you know. Same network, same solution, different viewpoints, right? Different capabilities there. Really, really, really important, right? We talked about not being an afterthought. So now you take IoT. IoT, again, just critical. It just opens up. There's so many threats out there, right? And why is it so difficult to secure IoT? Again, all these devices are consumer products. They come with default passwords. Do you have time to go in and change all your light bulbs? The password? Probably not. Do you have time to go patch all those devices to make sure they got the latest and greatest Linux because of the latest and greatest bug that was found or attack vector? No. That's what makes it so difficult is that now you got insecure devices that are all over the network. So what do? Do you turn off the lights? Do you go away? Do you not do technology? No. Right? You adapt. Right? You say, okay, I'm going to take that risk, but it's a measured risk. I'm going to take that risk, but I'm going to contain that traffic to this area of the network. If something bad happens, when something bad happens, I know it's contained. My network's still operational. I have backups. I can get back to a known state. I got audits that I could see what happened and figure out how to do better next time. So that's really, really important. IoT, again, it's even a bigger pain point that BYOD was in enterprise networks. Why? In BYOD, a customer will call you, hey, I can't connect to the network, right? So you got, the call was to IT, and there was another person on the other end. With IoT, there's nobody on the other end. It's machine, right? So unless the thermostat goes down and it just becomes so hot in there, somebody complains, you don't know that it went down. Control systems, HVAC, smart, there's just so many different cases where you're starting to see more and more devices that are coming into your network. They're coming into your network whether you like it or not. So you better be ready for it, right? So solutions to address that. Air defense. So air defense is like the eyes in the sky, right? It's wireless IDS, wireless IPS, constantly looking over the air, making sure that something bad's not happening. If something bad happened, contain it, right? When I used to work for GD, General Dynamics, and with 3-letter agencies and all that kind of stuff, the most secure device ever was a Solaris box that was a compartmentalized OS that was not connected to anything. But how useful is that? Is that really useful in today's business world? No, right? So you need to take some risk, but they're calculated risk. Every time we get in the car, we take a calculated risk, right? So that's really important. So air defense, an application there that's run on, all those Fortune 50 customers that Ed and Norm talked about using this, right? Because whether it's HIPAA, PCI compliance, you name it, you need the ability to, protect yourself from all these bad things. A new solution that's out there that Jeff is showing is Defender for IT. You saw Mike show it earlier in the day, right? It's the ability to protect an unprotected device. MRI machines, HVAC systems, you name it. Everybody's got something that's connected to the network that you don't know what those devices are doing. So this solution is really, really important because it's really cool because Ed talked about, hey, we acquired 3 different companies, and the solutions that Defender is built on, it's a combination of 3 different companies. And we implemented that, for example, the fabric that Ed's going to talk about, we implemented that 3 months after the acquisition of Avaya. That was rolled out in production. Right? This solution, Defender, about 8 months after the companies came together, a new unique solution in the market that leverages our policy capabilities from Extreme, as well as our fabric capabilities from our Avaya asset acquisition. So really, really important. And what it does is it able to protect those devices. How it does it, it creates an overlay. So if you're going into an HP or Cisco network, no worries, no worries. Your time will come, but if you need to protect it now, you can connect that device, protect it as an overlay, create an IPsec tunnel over that network, and off you go. You don't need to rip out and replace anything. In the future, if you like our technology and you start replacing that switching technology underneath it, great. Now you start leveraging Extreme Fabric that Ed's going to talk about, where you can extract the network. It can expand. So really, really important. So you get additional capabilities there. Segmentation in the security world. Segmentation in the security world. We've always known that in order to secure, you segment the network, right? The problem with segmentation is that it's difficult. In traditional world, segmenting the network, creating different rule sets, creating different VLANs, creating different IPsec tunnels, that's a lot of stuff that you need to maintain. What if, imagine a network could do that for you automatically, right? You do it once, you set it, and you forget it. So that's really important. So that's why we're leveraging those technologies. You create one, as Micah indicated. You connect the device to the unsecure device. You connect it. Your policy gets built automatically. Now, how do you build your policy? You take a device out of box. You patch it, whatever it is. You're comfortable with that device. You run traffic for a while. The network automatically creates a policy for that device. And now it implements it. As more of those devices come online, the network knows, oh, it's got this profile, so that device will automatically be configured into the network. The network will route that traffic automatically through it. So really, really important. So you get all this, but you want more expandability. We can't think of everything, right? You know your business more than we know your business. So we want to give you tools. We want to be able to give you tools that can expand and adapt to your needs. So APIs are really, really important. REST APIs so that the solution is extendable. See, you know what happened to the dinosaurs, right? Is, you know, my kid loves dinosaurs. So, you know, I can't, you know, bear to tell him that they're gone. So every time we go to, you know, Petco or something, I tell him that a bearded dragon is a dinosaur, and he's good with it, right? But the ability, you know, what happened to dinosaurs, they just didn't adapt. So REST APIs, you know, modern ability to adapt is really, really important. You know, you can use that for wayfinding. You can use that for contextual applications based on user engagement platforms. Efficiency, Norm mentioned a couple of cases for efficiency, accelerating production. It's all about, again, leveraging all that data, leveraging all that connectivity now to provide additional value beyond just connectivity. So in summary, again, we got those 3 tiers to the table, right? You know, intelligence, being smart, which I'm not anymore, business adaptive, being able to change, right, and intrinsically secure. It's really, really important. Imagine, could there ever be a network that does that in the future? How about if I told you we did it today? Thanks.